Hey, are you a mom or dad dealing with aggressive child behavior and you don't know what to do to get things under control without losing your mind? Well, I'm going to share a story with you today that will fill in some missing pieces to the puzzle and get you pointed in a more positive direction. Now, I'm Bonnie Liotta. We're the authors of Learn to Speak Kid, as well as Raising Healthy, Happy, Cooperative Kids. My husband and I coach and mentor parents who come to us from all over the world with this issue, and we help them turn their lives around in 90 days or less. If you've been watching our videos for a while and you're wondering how to do that, we have just launched a 90-minute masterclass that will share with you our three-part framework to reclaim peace in the home, heal, unite, and empower the family. There was nothing more important to me than becoming a mother and giving my kids a great life. I wanted them to have the life that I always wanted because I thought that if they had all the cool gadgets, the designer clothes, and an easy life, that they would grow up feeling loved, feeling admired. And I was going to be so nice and so kind to my kids that they would skip terrible twos and teenage rebellion altogether. Now, I became pregnant with my first son in 1997, and I started reading parenting books. I was going to fill my mind with so much information that we were going to have it easy from the get-go. I learned all about jellyfish parenting, which is permissive parenting, brick wall parenting, which is more authoritarian parenting, do as I say or else. Then there was this middle parenting style that was called backbone parenting. It was authoritative parenting, where you would still correct behavior in the moment with timeouts or takeaways, but you would do it in like a loving way where you would explain to your child why they can't have what's important to them or why what they did was wrong. I also read books like How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk, Magic 1, 2, 3. Have you ever caught yourself going 1, 2, 3? Okay, that's it. I started a home-based business so that I could be home with them. I never sent my kids off to daycare. I ended up with a live-in nanny. Fast forward, I now had 4 kids between the ages of 6 and 12. All of them were being diagnosed or labeled with some sort of mood or behavior disorder. And I was just like where you are going, well, what the heck? Trauma, neglect, abuse, none of that was going on. My kids had an easy life. My dream of empowering kids by the age of 12 was slowly dying as I would come home from my business life into my own secret nightmare, crying in fetal position on my bathroom floor, praying to God for an answer. In 2011, I was introduced to a set of principles that had been already applied with thousands of kids, but hidden in an after-school program that nobody knew about. The only way to describe what I experienced is by giving all of the glory to God. I call it divine intervention. When I learned that you could parent with goals and to create a unified parent-approved plan for the kids to follow that would allow them an opportunity to rise up, to work towards things that were important to them, my whole world changed. In 6 months, I saw my children completely transform. Like, what? I started to search online. What parenting philosophy parents proactively with goals, role play, and life skills training? And it's been 14 years, and I still have not found anything out there. This is why I do these videos, because nobody else is sharing these principles. And I've learned that by giving my kids an easy life and by providing everything and doing everything for them, but coming in with some sort of corrective behavior was causing them to miss out on the development of neural pathways. So let me ask you this question, and please share with me in the comments. Did you decide that you were going to give your kids a better life than what you had? Were you a parent just like me saying, nobody's going to hurt my kid over my dead body, and now wondering why your child is out of control? Well, I'm going to share a story with you right now that'll help you build a new neural pathway and see your children through new lenses. I'm going to get those glasses. This book is called The Law of Success, and it's original 1925 edition. And I'm going to flip to page 22. Now, what is amazing to me is this is the self-confidence formula. It's chapter 2, And I've been reading this book my entire adult life, but I miss this. He says here, one of the chief disadvantages of inherited wealth is the fact that it too often leads to inaction and loss of self-confidence. So, in an effort to protect our children, we are actually stealing life from them because we're not preparing them for the real world. At some point in time, our children are going to go off and leave us, and they need the skills to survive with or without us. Does that just make sense? Share with me in the comments below. Now, I'm going to move forward and share with you why giving our kids an easy life is the main cause of the mental health crisis we're seeing in our children on a global scale. He goes on to say, 20 years ago, the man whom I served as secretary sent his two sons away to school. One of them went to the University of Virginia, the other to a college in New York. Each month, it was part of my task to make out a check for $100 for each of these boys. This was their pin money to be spent as they wished. How profitably I remember the way I envied those boys as I made out those checks each month. I often wondered why the hand of fate bore me into the world of poverty. I could look ahead and see how these boys would rise to high stations in life while I remained a humble clerk. In due time, the boys returned home with their sheepskins. Their father was a wealthy man who owned banks and railroads and coal mines and other property of great value. Good positions were waiting for the boys in their father's employ. But 20 years of time can play cruel tricks on those who have never had to struggle. Perhaps a better way to state this truth would be that time gives those who have never had to struggle a chance to play cruel tricks on themselves. These boys brought home from school other things besides their sheepskins. They came back with a well-developed capacity for strong drink, capacities that they developed because the $100 which each of them received each month made it unnecessary for them to struggle. At the end of the day, one of them ended up taking his own life, and the other one ended up in an insane asylum. He goes on to say, far from being a disadvantage, struggle is a decided advantage because it helps develop those qualities that would forever lie dormant without it. Many a man and woman has found their place in the world because of having been forced to struggle for existence early in life. Lack of knowledge of the advantages accruing from struggle has prompted many a parent to say, I had to work hard when I was young, but I shall see to it that my children have an easy time. Poor, foolish creatures. An easy time usually turns out to be a greater handicap than the average young man or woman can survive. There are far worse things in this world than being forced to work early in life. Forced idleness is far worse than forced labor. Being forced to work and forced to do your best will breed in you temperance and self-control, strength of will and content, and 100 other virtues that the idle will never know. Not only does lack of the necessity for struggle lead to weakness of ambition and willpower, but what is more dangerous still, it sets up in a person's mind a state of lethargy that leads to the loss of self-confidence. All right, this whole chapter is amazing, but did you get that? Are you doing too much for your kids? Are your children earning their own privileges? So let's talk about what are privileges in your home right now that your children have access to for free that they've never had to earn. iPads, technology, video games, television, treats, and the list goes on and on. I said a few minutes ago, I was like, you can parent with goals. And I started to respond to my children every time they asked for something. I want to watch a movie, play a video game, have a treat after supper. Whatever it is, when your child asks for something and we tell them no because we have a good reason to tell them no, what we're doing is we're throwing away our arsenal that will give them an inner desire, that will give them willpower and ambition. And when they work towards their goals, they develop self-confidence. Like, psh, my mind is blown. These are things that I was missing for the first 13 years as a parent. My children had never had to work toward anything. They weren't ambitious. They were refusing to go to school. They were breaking all the rules, sneaking out at night. Like, it was chaos. And as soon as I started to make proactive parent approved plans that included how they could reach their goals all by themselves, well, life totally transformed. And after 6 months, and I saw my kids rise up to their best selves, I made a decision. Every parent in the world needs to know about this, because right now more than $300 billion a year is being spent on our child mental health crisis in the United States alone. That tells me that this is a $1 trillion industry between medication, treatment centers, therapy, counseling, and the fact that millions of parents have stopped going to work because they can't leave their kids alone with anyone. When the answer is so simple. Now, I'm not going to say it's easy, because we have a set of beliefs. You have a set of habits as a parent. Do you tell them no to things that are important to them? Do you try to talk things through and explain to them why they can't have what they're asking for? Do you do their laundry, clean their rooms, make their beds, do their dishes, cook their meals? At the end of the day, when I realized this, I was like, a human being must have a feeling that they have some sort of purpose in this world. You know, if we go back 100 years ago, 2-year-olds had jobs in the house. When did that stop? Well, it stopped around the same time that we started giving participation awards at school. And you know what? When I asked my kids how they felt about participation awards, they tell me that it actually made them feel worse, that they and their friends would take their little participation awards and throw them in the garbage. It didn't mean anything to them. In 2025, life is so easy. There's immediate gratification, drive-through restaurants on every corner. There's Chat GPT, right? There's AI to do all your work for you. If you want to have a child who has the characteristics of self-control, self-discipline, focus, responsibility, self-confidence, happiness, contentment from the inside out, then we must allow them some opportunities to struggle. The magic formula is this: the child asks for a goal. You, mom, dad, give them a parent-approved plan. What do you want or need for them to do? Do they need to do their homework, clean their room, put their dishes away, pick up their toys? Give them a parent-approved, proactive plan. Now, with that being said, if they've never picked up their toys or made their bed, they're going to need some life skills training, because a child doesn't wake up one day going, I'm a master at making a bed now. Everything you want your child to be, do, and have, you must take the time to show them. And when you give them this type of proactive, loving, unconditional attention, then they won't have to have these aggressive, violent outbursts to get your attention. They'll learn how to get it in a much more positive way. Now, last week I did a video on how to create a proactive parent approved plan. And if you want more, all you got to do is click right there to watch it.